welcome to this program, which by Zena World Care Foundation. And today we have with us four very eminent people from public life. And these people are literally veterans. Veterans means they are essentially in their second innings. And therefore, we have titled the talk as the second innings MARGDARSHAN, where we seek both guidance in terms of what they have seen through their own life experiences. So with this, we will with a very short introduction of the session. We'll start with the vision video of Zena Foundation.
Zena World Vision Document. We are a family bringing joy, happiness, prosperity in our lives and around by nurturing, encouraging, catalyzing, enabling 360-degree well-being in physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and economic dimensions. Our vision: abundance of joy, happiness, care, and prosperity for all. Our mission: we strive for alleviating pain, suffering, and poverty, encouraging unshackled-free thoughts, enabling dignified jobs and livelihood, nurturing close family bonding, seeking joy and happiness in the impact caused. Our values: passion, work with passion and from heart. Our values: humility, learning attitude, mutual respect, and open to listening to others. Our values: integrity, sincere, honest, and ethical principles. Our values: empathy, understand and feel others as your own. Our values: humanity, have compassion, brotherhood, fellow feeling, and kindness. Our values: joy, work that brings joy and value, diversity and inclusion. Our character: trust, belief, faith, and confidence in self and in others, from where love and compassion emanate. Our character: virtue, high moral values, patience, consideration, trustworthiness, and forgiveness. Our character: transparency, honesty, openness, and not guarded. Thank you.
So it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Neeraj Yadnik. And he's a chemical engineer from IIT Bombay and then graduated from IIM Ahmedabad. In the entrepreneur in him in some ways got better than his managerial training at IIM Ahmedabad. And therefore he has been in largely a business role after a very, very short stint in the industry. He has spent over a decade in academics, and his academic interests revolve around strategies, safety management, and social intervention. So with this, I invite Mr. Neeraj Yadnik to give us the keynote speech and his welcome address.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, the earphones have also left me today. So I am just left at the mercy of the mobile. and I'm carrying on like this. It's a very, very inspiring thought, not just to have an organization like this with us, but one which has completed a year and is growing continuously. And I'm very, very happy that we have been able to make use of the technology, which has it has helped so many people. Well, at least officially study and learn so many things because of the classrooms being online. But this is possibly a unique event, or rather a unique happening, that a voluntary organization or an NGO is making use of the net to make a virtual organization, which is actually a very real organization. It is not just really a so virtual as people make out to be, but it's a very real organization. And uh, thanks to the efforts that Rajiv Bhai has made, and with the help of many others, we have got so many brilliant people on this. We have an ambassador, we have a major general, and I'm sure countless others who do not have titles, but they have the talent to back up any title that God may give them. So I think it's a very great thing that has happened, and we have been able to pull these people together. Last year, from apart from all the things that we did, the major impact of all the activities was to make people acquainted more with each other and build a kind of common trust, a bond of trust that yes, we are dealing with people who basically have the same values that we are carrying. And I think that now should enable us to come out and uh, at least chart out areas where we might go in for some joint programs of involving people in activities. Like one of the important tasks of the organization is, rather, the focus of the organization is to identify the pain points of the society and how do we deal with them. Now, we might identify, at least we should be able to voice what we consider as the pain points. Like when we have, for instance, when we have an ambassador in our midst, one of the major pain points today people are having is that countries are not having enough trust over each other about even a simple thing like this vaccine certification. Can this be overcome at all? See, the point is this: we are not looking for, a roadmap. And in any case, even if there is a roadmap, it is between two countries to work it out, and their diplomatic missions and the WHO and whatnot. But what are the factors which create this kind of mistrust? Possibly we have an ambassador who could throw light on this. We have many other people like this who can throw, so that when we voice a concern, we are at least able to find some background to that concern. Because most of the time we will have a concern when we come across a certain roadblock in our life. What Why is the roadblock there in the first place? Probably we'll not be able to do much about it. But at least if we have somebody in our friend circle who's able to tell us, "Bhaiya, this is the reason why this roadblock has got there. Maybe we can't remove it, but at least this is the reason why it came about." It will do two things. It will reduce our own pain, and it will give us a kind of greater bond with the person who is explaining these things to us. नहीं, हाँ, हमारे पास कोई एक तो है जो who is explaining this and who has the requisite knowledge. So maybe whenever we think that something needs to be done, okay, this is an area of my expertise or my commitment, my passion, my liking, and I want to do something about this, we'll be able to find good advice from within our own group. I think this should be at least I would say the first half of this year, we should like to spend on coming out with at least voicing our clear concerns. नहीं भी ये यहाँ कुछ करने जैसा लगता है, या तो एटलीस्ट मुझे यहाँ कुछ प्रॉब्लम लग रही है, क्या इसमें कुछ करना है, क्या करने जैसा है, करेंगे तो क्या होगा, करेंगे तो कौन करेगा. These kinds of simple voicing loud our concerns, that could be a focus for the next 6 months. We might be heading for another, at least a heavily restricted movement time zone for the next 6 months. It looks quite probable because I think the era of lockdowns is over. but at least the era of restrictions is likely to come through. So we might have more time also with us to think of these things. I think at least we are able to chart out something for the next few meetings that will give us a much better idea of what we'll do in this year, so that, as Rajiv Bhaiya very rightly said, कि ये एक इनिंग तो हो गई, अभी दूसरी भी हो गई. ये क्रिकेट मैच में आप जानते हैं 2 इनिंग होते हैं, लेकिन बेसबॉल में तो 9 इनिंग होते हैं. फिर आगे के इनिंग में जाना है तो क्या करना है हमें, ये कुछ सोचने जैसा समय आ गया है और हमारे पास फॉर्चुनेटली थोड़ा समय भी है. सो आई डोंट नो इफ people can come forward, and I'll be give it a very quick push to the whole movement of this organization. I think I would like to end here and would like to listen to the eminent panel of speakers this time, who should be able to give a much better guidance. Now, what I've just said is कि हमें कौन सी चीज के लिए गाइडेंस लेनी चाहिए, ये भी आज हम नहीं जानते. तो हमारे पास जो गाइडेंस देने वाले लोग बैठे हैं, तो उनको हम सुने तो वही बेहतर रहेगा, तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा. आई लुक फॉरवर्ड टू लिस्निंग दिस पीपल. थैंक यू वेरी मच. प्लीज कैरी ऑन, मनीष जी.
Thank you, Mr. Neeraj Yagnik. I will now request this memories and the milestones video to be played, please.
So you're muted.
Hello. With this, I would like to introduce our panelists today. I'd like to first introduce Ambassador J.K. Tripathi. He is the retired officer of the Indian Foreign Service with 33 years of experience in Africa, Europe, Middle East, and Latin America. He has served in various capacities in Indian missions in Zambia, Maldives, Hungary, Sweden, Venezuela, and Oman, before taking up as Consul General of India in Brazil at Sao Paulo. Earlier, he served as Regional Passport Officer at Lucknow and Deputy Secretary in Myanmar with the Ministry of External Affairs. He retired in 2014 after serving as Ambassador of India to Zimbabwe. He's a member of Association of Indian Diplomats, Research Information Systems, and Ambassadors Club of PhD Chamber of Commerce. He's also on the Board of Advisors of Indo-Latin American Chamber of Commerce, Messrs. Dimitri Infrapro and Messrs. Jaguar Overseas International, and also Messrs. Quest Global Technologies. He has keen interest in keeping abreast with the latest development in international affairs and diplomacy. He appears frequently on various national TV channels for panel discussions on these issues. He also contributes articles related to foreign policy and diplomacy in different periodicals. He's a keen golfer and a poet, well versed in English, Hindi, Urdu, and as well as Spanish. So welcome, Ambassador Tripathi, on board. It's great to have you on the panel discussion today. I next welcome Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya Panda. She is a distinguished fellow of Asian Confluence Meghalaya and a former senior fellow of Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. She's a historian and a Sanskritist. Her doctorate is from University of Oxford, and her dissertation, Appropriation and Invention of Tradition, the English East India Company and Hindu Law in Early Colonial Bengal, was a seminal contribution to modern Indian history, looking at how the early British rulers devised legal codes for Hindus on the basis of selective appropriation of Dharma Shastra traditions. Dr. Panda commands a very good knowledge of Sanskrit, especially over Smriti, Nyaya, and Mimamsa tradition of Hindu philosophy, Hindu Darshan. The book, which has received global acclaim, is taught in leading universities throughout India and the rest of the world. Dr. Panda has lectured on Hindu law, Northeast India and other subjects in leading national and international universities such as University of Cambridge, UK, Penn Law School, and at the University of Pennsylvania, Dhaka University, Bangladesh, National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata, and many other institutions. She has also been invited to contribute the article in Blackwell Company to Religion and Violence on the topic Women in Shastri Tradition, Colonialism, Law, and Violence. Her articles have been published from Routledge, UK, Sage, and in 3 volumes, History of Bengal, published from Primus in collaboration with Asiatic Society, Calcutta. Dr. Panda has been working on Eastern Himalayas in Nepal and Northeast India since 2006. Her understanding of cultural history of hill communities, in particular Northeast India, she has made a documentary film in 2016 on the Lepcha community of Eastern Himalayas under the title The Lepcha Community of Darjeeling and Kalimpong Hills, Quest for the Roots, being invited and sponsored by Lepcha Tribal Board in Kalimpong. So welcome, Dr. Bhattacharya, on board, and it would be very enlightening to hear from you as we will proceed in this panel discussion. Our next panelist is Mr. N.K. Jaggi. He is an advocate with 50 years of experience in law and legalities.
No, please. My only qualification to be sitting here with in such august company, such august gathering, is just my age. You know, sometimes they say empty vessels make more sound. So I'm one of those guys who likes to speak without having any merit or anything. My age has probably prevailed upon Mr. Anand to ask me to be here. Nothing about me. No, nothing. A very ordinary person who just likes to speak. And my age has probably qualified me to be sitting with such distinguished gentlemen of letters, academicians, and far-reaching administrative skills. Thank you, sir.
So Mr. Jaggi has been very humble while explaining things as he sees them, and but it's my duty to sort of bring out his distinguished service record in the country. He, as an advocate, he is the chief patron, associate member, and advisor for not less than 30 organizations. He's a decorated law professional. Many credits, many laurels to his credit, including the Bharatiya Shiromani Puraskar given by the Gujarat governor. He is a recipient of prestigious awards from 3 former presidents of India for his community services. He's an eminent social worker and has sponsored 12 children for their entire schooling. Deeply concerned with dyslexia, he has made strenuous efforts to get these children reinstated back in their schools with their legal rights. So we welcome Dr. Jaggi we thank him firstly for taking out this time, and we welcome him on board for this session today.
Thank you very much.
So once again, welcome on board our distinguished panelists. And I would like to sort of throw open this question and would love to hear from each of the panelists on what message do they think they have for the Zena family. Maybe we can start with Mr. Jaggi first.
I think I should be the last. His Excellency, the Ambassador, sir, and then Dr. Panda, they are the most qualified. I've always been a backbencher all my life, so let me be the last.
Sure enough.
No.
Sure enough, we will then invite Ambassador J.K. Tripathi. He can start with that, and then we can move on to.
Yeah, let me be the last.
So I just
protocol demands that we honor the most eminent, the other 2 panelists first. Thank you, sir.
Well, friends, I won't go naming each another, but thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. But as Mr. Jaggi himself has rightly pointed out at the very beginning, that the qualification should not be the yardstick, or age should not be yardstick of anybody's success. I see from whatever I have been told that Mr. Jaggi is very distinguished legal professional. And so is Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya Pandya. As against that, I don't have any legal background, except that I have done my LLB, or I don't have any other academic background as such to tell everybody. Now, as Mr. Agrawal has said, threw open the question that what is the message that we would like to give to the posterity, to the next generation, or to the members of Zena family. One thing that comes to my mind is that we have a very distorted version of the word success. Mostly by success, most of the people think that success means material wealth. Success means you have some flashing car, some mansion, and a deep pocket to spend things, and that is the success. But I'm sure that you will agree that this is a distorted version. Everybody, almost everybody, or I'll say most of us, we think that, okay, our neighbor has got a car, our neighbor has got we have got a scooter, and our neighbor has got a car. So why not have a car ourselves? If he has got a car, why not have a better car than what he has? And so on and so forth. But unfortunately, nobody ever thinks that if my neighbor has got a master's degree in some subject, why shouldn't I try to get a doctor's degree, doctoral degree? Nobody thinks of having more knowledge, but everybody thinks of having more material benefit, having more comfort in life. And this material comfort doesn't mean that you are successful or I am successful. Success to me means satisfaction. If we are satisfied, that means we are successful. If we are not satisfied, even if we have billions and billions of dollars, and we live a tense life, we live a life always worrying about our security of our children, always worrying about our money, always worrying about income tax rates. So that is not success, because you are not you are not satisfied with whatever God has given to you in this life. And rather this sense of greed, like Mahatma Gandhi has said, that there is an end to need, but there is no end to greed. So we have to define the limit of our needs somewhere at some point in our life, so that we don't have to bother beyond that. But mostly we don't do. That is what I think my message to the JINA members will be, that you should first look inwards and try to find out what makes you happy. And that should be the yardstick of success. Thank you. Over to you, Manish.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. That was most illuminating, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your very incisive remarks. And I once again sort of throw open this question to the second panelist, Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya Panda, which is her message to the Zena family members based on her own experience and life history.
Thank you very much. I am the only female panelist, and I am not what one can say a very successful person, honestly. As Ambassador Tripathi said, that success is very relative. So, well, I perceived success in that way. So I could have done a lot of things more, honestly. People say that you could have done. Well, Manish ji, he read out a lot of my articles and books, everything, but I never joined a professional life full-time, because I have a family. I mean, that time I had so many considerations and I did not join a full-time job. So success did not come to me through that way, a full-time job. But well, I, as a woman, and as a mother, I had to take care of my growing child, and I have to take care of my own, as Ambassador Tripathi says, greed for my fame, greed for my own life. Well, I wouldn't say that this is not a sacrifice, because as a mother, well, I mean, you can call me a feminist. You cannot call me a feminist, because feminism is a different ballgame altogether. I believe in the autonomy of intellect of women. I believe in the autonomy of women, but not at the cost of life of others. For me, the other was my daughter, my only daughter. So I did not really join a full-time job, but well, as Ambassador Tripathi said, I pursued knowledge. I tried to pursue knowledge, and I am still pursuing actually. I'm over 60, but this pandemic has made my trajectory stalled for over 2 years, because I love hills. I always work in the hills nowadays, Northeast India, Nepal, Darjeeling, Sikkim. But now it is not possible. I'm feeling very upset because I did not allow myself to be carried away by my free will and my greed and my desire. But now at this age, I feel that, well, I can do that because my objective circumstances is allowing me to do that. My daughter, she has just got a tenure track job in a very good college, liberal arts college in US. And I have earned some fame through my books, through my hill pursuits. And fame means not only among the academicians, but also among the hill communities. I am very much loved there. If you go to many members of the community in Darjeeling, Sikkim, even in Nepal, or in Northeast India, in Meghalaya, or Assam, or Arunachal Pradesh, they would know my name. They are not necessarily big people. They are very simple people, but I'm friends with them. So for me, that's a success. That's a success in my career trajectory, in my life trajectory. So success, as Ambassador Tripathi rightly pointed out, is not measured by money, is not measured by material possessions. Well, we need material possessions. We need money because we are all, we have aged. So even if we are not aged now in the times of pandemic, we need money because we don't know when people will suffer, when people will be struck by illness, and then we have to get good treatment. Although good treatment nowadays is not ensuring life. It is all providence of the God, whether we can be alive or we can be not. But life should go on, and my notion of success is that you should spread your wings in the larger world. You should be kind. You should be active among not only among the party going people, but among the larger community. If you can help them. And this is my message for the Zena community. And as we are all over 60 people, I feel that old age is now a curse throughout the world. I spent a lot of time in Oxford, and actually I worked voluntarily in age consent. That time I was quite young. I was in my late 20s and early 30s. And I found that how much, I mean, the life of the old people, most of the old people are very pathetic, very pathetic. And I mean, there are many anecdotes I should not, but I tried to help them. And I thought that, well, we are lucky in India that we have the values and the ethics of looking after older people. But nowadays we are imitating, or we think that the imitation of the Western values is glorifying us, glorifying the Indians. So what I can see, that life of the old people is not as good as it was 20 years ago. So to the younger generation, My message is, please value the knowledge, wisdom, and experience of the old people, and they also deserve life. And for the older generation, I can share my thought that we can live as a community. We should contribute, I mean, as far as we can, to make our life better. This is, I mean, the older generation somehow, and we can also contribute. We are not finished people. So those who are successful, we can share some of the resources, some of the knowledge, some of the wisdom with the lesser people, if we can. This is my message. Thank you.
That was very enlightening, very illuminating. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Nandini. So what I see very clearly is you picked on from where Ambassador Tripathi left and defined your happiness and fulfillment in the early part of your career with respect to your daughter, and then in the second part of your career with the communities around you, which is around the hill communities and people in Nepal, northeastern states. And so that's how you defined happiness, and that's how you defined fulfillment, which Ambassador Tripathi was sort of talking about. So with this, I'd like our next panelist, Jaggi Saab, to sort of share his thoughts based on his experience on what he would like to share with the Zena family members.
Mr. Rajiva Anand, sir, and our session moderator, sir, I need your permission, not permission, I virtually need literally a license to digress and state things which may not be relevant, because I am to follow such distinguished people who have achieved so much in life. And here, without having an achievement to my, or any accomplishment to my name, I'm trying to be on the same panel. So I may be forgiven if I am digressive. I cannot start suggesting or giving any advice or any message to the present generation if I do not go back to my earlier life. Mr. Jivanand, do you permit me to digress?
Yes, please just keep at the back of your mind that we have to finish at 6 o'clock. I mean, so I'll let you know if we exceed time too much.
I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to charge you. So even if I overstep, I will not send a bill.
Thank you so much.
I was one of the very fortunate few in the earlier the years after the partition of the country. We studying in the best school. There we called one of the strongest prime ministers of India, Auntie Indira, and the wife of another most honest prime minister, Auntie Lalita. And we had the best of everything. Education was not that easily available to one and all. And therefore, there was a concept of snobbishness. So coming from the best school of the country at that time, you develop an attitude of snobbishness. And that snobbishness was not the present day snobbishness, which comes with extra material wealth. That snobbishness was partially, if not wholly, due to the fact that you did have something extra. My first part of my innings, success, being the best, but morally and ethically right. Remember, morally and ethically right. We had a class of moral science in our school that kept us. The second innings after my death-defying surgery was totally different. Totally different. One realized, as His Excellency the Ambassador, Mr. Tripathi, sir, and the distinguished Mrs. Panda rightly said, success, when you say, is measured by material wealth, affluence, or monetary gains, is not only distorted, but it's a meaningless concept. Success means something else, as they've been more rightly. Dr. Panda, were you there at the time of Mr. N.R. Madhav Menon Rao when he set up your law college, law university? He was my professor and my wife's professor also, and he taught us certain things. What he taught us was, if you have knowledge, nothing can stop you from attaining, even climbing Mount Everest, not the hard way that Edmund Hillary and Tenzing did. You can climb Mount Everest and even higher. Knowledge is the most. And that is what I would like to share. I would like to share with the new generation my experience. If we can gain knowledge, not cursory knowledge, not book knowledge, not just reading here and there, you can gain thought knowledge. That is going to be important. That helps us. You will be surprised that Mr. Madhav Menon Rao, just before we lost him, a brilliant professor, Dr. Point, I'm sharing this with you. He had met me and he said, you're a very chained man, you're extravagant, you're flamboyant, you're this. What has happened to you? Why are you so humble? I said, no, I'm still not humble. He said, I'm reminded because one of your students told me that from Sachin Tendulkar, you have become Ramakant Achrekar. So those words ring such a huge bell in my mind. Sachin Tendulkar lives in a huge mansion, and Ramakant Achrekar, his guru who taught him the cricket skills, lived in a chawl all his life. So that was the point. Knowledge. Mr. Ambassador, sir, can I share with you, you were representing India at Oman, Muscat.
Yes.
I happen to do a case there. Where if there is a murder, they ask for blood money. And we were able to resolve that case without having to do that. And that was purely knowledge. The result was one of the top families, Indian families settled there, got the only family who got Omani citizenship. They were there. And they were so impressed that they were able to impress upon the Sultan to even make the laws less stringent. Because there can be an accidental. It need not be always a connived death. Knowledge is one thing which is, I feel, we can impart to the new generation. And along with that, not the false bravado. Yes. It doesn't work. It's very short-lived. Time will come and you will also age. When you will age, you'll realize this. Good manners, behaving in a manner, respecting the ladies, show the chivalry, show good manners, be well behaved. Don't have to fight and argue over the pettiest of things. You can always conduct yourself with decency. You can always conduct yourself with decorum and then be able to resolve a problem. We need more. We don't have to be like the other day. One of the speakers pointed out, your success, my success should not be at the cost of your success. We can still have success, all of us, not at each other's cost, but common. And that is the Zina world concept. And what really attracted me, the magnetism that Mr. Viva Anand had, is the fact that out of nowhere, he conceived, conceptualized, implemented, and executed to perfection the idea of the Zina world, the Zina family. Sitting there, tying people, creating non-for-profit organizations, tying people, creating trust, creating entities for profit. So that without money, you cannot run the other, you cannot do charity. For charity, you need money. And that wisdom, that farsightedness, that vision that I saw, Mr. Nivanand, that led me to join this band, this wonderful Zina family. And all I can say, good manners, good behavior, knowledge, let us be gentlemen, let us be chivalrous, let us be good people. We can still make tons of money ethically and morally. We don't have to degrade ourselves, downgrade ourselves, demean ourselves. Ethical and moral values still. If we have knowledge, we don't have to become immoral or unethical. We can still outbeat the cunning fellow with our knowledge. It is possible. And this is the dream that one has for the MENA world. And it's been wonderful sitting with such eminent people and sharing a few thoughts. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaggi, for your insightful comments, and especially about the fact that a lot of times knowledge can also bring worldly success and ability to handle people who are
Yes.
using unethical.
I cannot share the thing. It's one of the topmost families of India. The Mughals had given Jahangir, Emperor Jahangir had given that family the whole area where Mulayam Singh Yadav comes, entire area was come. A progeny of that family was involved in a place Muscat, and knowledge helped. Then there's another case in Doha, where a teacher of Delhi Public School, the principal, the child was left in the air-conditioned bus and nobody noticed. The child died. And how we had to manage because there's blood money. It's knowledge that relations did not sour between countries. The schools continue. Same thing happened in Muscat. Knowledge. It could have, knowledge. And of course, we didn't have the excellence of administrative skills and like His Excellency the Ambassador Sir has had. But we were able to resolve two major problems, only on knowledge. Thank you very much, and sorry for interrupting you again, sir.
So it's very delightfully to hear you. So thank you all the panelists for a wide variety of comments, which throw different perspectives to our members in light of your own personal life experience through your journey. So I'll switch gears a little and again sort of pick your brains on your thoughts and feelings on some of the things that that you think you would have loved to do, but either due to circumstances or due to certain choices or situations, you could not do in your existing, in your life so far. So I'll repeat the question again so that
if you're asking me, I was a good cricketer, but in those days you'd be surprised, for a test cricketer, you were paid 500 rupees for a 6-day test match. And you were paid 100 rupees per day for a test cricket test match, and tests used to take place after 2 years, 2.5 years. It was Nawab of Pataudi, Mansoor Ali Khan. When he became the captain, he got 600 rupees for the one. There used to be a 2 days play rest or 3 days play rest for the rest day also. And he was wowed like this. Oh, we got 600 rupees. Many of our cricketers, Rajdeep Sardesai's father, Dilip Sardesai, died in utter penury. Salim Durrani died in utter penury in spite of being an actor. Montojan Ali Lakshmi Narusu Jaiswal, Sunil Gavaskar's hero, died in utter penury, miserable, pathetic condition. If Sunil Gavaskar had not helped him, he would have, died a totally miserable death. I could have been a cricketer, but those days, that was not it. And secondly, I could have been the youngest judge in the entire judicial history of the country, probably the longest reigning Chief Justice. There were 3 chances, 3 opportunities, twice not accepted by me, and once because of the governance has changed. By the time came, you were known as belonging to one particular governance, so that was the thing. But I've never really regretted not being this. But I could have been there, because the fact that I could stand against the best in terms of knowledge, that is what gave me the confidence. You would be surprised, sir. I'm probably one of the very few, or the only lawyer who won his first 104 cases. And the 105th case that I lost, that was before Chief Justice of India, Rangnath Mishra, who was the chacha of another Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. And I lost that case, but he was so impressed he recommended me to be a life member of the Supreme Court Bar Association, along with Chief Justice M.D. Deoul. That is the fact of knowledge. It takes you places. It takes you places. I've seen so many times when you have, if your knowledge is one thing, no matter what it is, you can stand on your own anywhere in the world. So I could have been a cricketer. I could have been, that, but I didn't. I'll share with you, this is a public platform. I'll share with you the public platform. But the message must go across. Sir, Ambassador, Sir, Your Excellency, do you recall when you joined the IFS, there used to be a clause called moral turpitude, which was very vigorously and rigorously implemented under the provision of the Constitution of India. Moral turpitude.
Yes, I do.
Nobody speaks of moral turpitude now. Moral turpitude now. Nobody speaks of this, what do you call it? And like today we have judges who are divorced twice, thrice. And earlier, if you were divorced or separated, not even divorced, if you were not having a congenial relationship with your wife, it was looked on as a moral turpitude, and it was found not fitting the high office of a judge. And if you were fond of the better things of life, if you liked the company of beautiful women, even that was moral turpitude when it came to judges. So see the change. Moral turpitude. Remarks being expunged. Small thing like this guy is not competent and everything else. All that has changed. Now we all accept, like His Lordship Justice Gogoi, Chief Justice India Gogoi, in an interview recently said, corruption has become a part of our life. We have accepted corruption as a part of life. It's a change. But I say, if you have knowledge, so allow me to say it, I may sound far-fetched, I may sound foolish, totally foolhardy. If you have knowledge, you can ethically and morally still outbeat the biggest crook facing you. You don't have to stoop down to his unethical and his immoral acts. With knowledge, you can surpass it, outwit it, and still legally, ethically, morally, and principally do it. That's I really feel. So it's been an honor being on the same stage with you. You must allow us, like Mr. Evanand says, Charan Sparsh karne ka mauka dijiye. But abhi virtually, Charan Sparsh, sir. Thank you very much.
So Mr. Jaggi talked about his two passions or possible passions. One was cricket, and the second was the fact that he could have.
Yes, I was very fond of beautiful women.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we'll shift. We'll move to Dr. Nandini Panda to sort of share her thoughts on things that she would have loved to do, but could not happen because of circumstances, choices, and so on.
Well, actually, I have written a lot of books on law. My first book is on law, and then my stint with Nehru Memorial, my professorial fellowship, I also worked on legal formation, colonial legal formation in Northeast India. But I am a historian. I did my MA in history. I had to do my doctorate in Oxford. But when I was in Oxford, I wanted to join law. I wanted to become a barrister. That was my cherished. I don't know why didn't I study law while I was studying in Kolkata. Maybe there are peer pressure, family. But I couldn't be a barrister because I had to pay everything, all the expenses from own pocket. And to study bar at law in Oxford is very, very expensive. It was unaffordable. So my second choice, but it was perhaps a good choice, to become a scholar on law. Then while I was doing my doctorate, I I mean, I always did a lot of community work, and there are a lot of Bangladeshi people in Oxford and entire England, or in some of them were that time not legal citizens. And the Oxford County Council employed me as translator from English to Bengali, mostly on the health issues or tax, something, social, to make socially or health-wise aware of women and men as well. So then I was a good translator. Uh, kind of Oxfam approached me several times, and I also used to translate with them. And while I was working with Oxfam, I thought, oh my God, I should join Oxfam. And I should be really working in all those, Mexico, Africa. I'm a born romantic, impossibly romantic, can't help it. So, but that by then, my daughter was born and I was very much married. So my second dream was not fulfilled, but God is kind to me. When I came back to India, I wanted to join Save the Children. At that time in Kolkata, there was no branch, so I couldn't really leave Kolkata. But while I started my anthropological studies on the hill communities of Darjeeling, Sikkim, Nepal, and Northeast India, all my not studies, all my ventures, these are all studies. Either I produced a couple of books and articles and also a documentary film. But basically, while I'm doing this, I'm an activist. It is not, I am not a passive scholar while I visit all those hills. I'm a very active and caring, sharing person I try to be while I visit the hills. Perhaps that's why they still, I mean, they're quite fond of me. I really miss my hills. I hope the pandemic will end and I can go and I mean, that's how I feel that, well, not all the dreams come true, but people in their life trajectory, people can do something, and I have tried to do. I have make more. I tried to make most out of my life trajectory. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Nandini. So I think in your case, you would say doing law at Oxford, and probably now you are missing, just because of the pandemic, the folks that you are used to or you enjoy being with, which is
Yes.
the in some ways I can say subjects, not in a Kshatriya sense, but subjects in the sense of people whom you
Well,
study.
I still write about law, about women, because I'm being invited to write or to deliver speeches, but my heart lies in the hills.
So again, it goes back to doing what is joyful.
Yes.
So with this, we'd like to hear Ambassador Tripathi on the same topic, which is what is it that he could have, or he thinks that he would have loved doing, or but could not do because of various circumstances.
Well, I can say that it is really not the second innings, but the third innings, because the first was your student life, the second was your professional life, and third is now retired life after 60. But I had a dream in my first innings when I was in just pre-university to go and join Air Force. That was my old cherished dream. I competed in NDA, went up to the medical after passing the PABT test for Air Force, which is held only, for which you get only one chance in the life. And then in the medical, they said because of a small hole in your eardrum, one of your eardrums, you are not fit for Air Force, you're not fit for Army, you can join Navy. I said, thank you very much, either Air Force or nothing. So I came back. Then when I was doing my master's in political science, I had an ambition of joining the teaching job, teaching students the intricacies of political philosophy. And in fact, after doing my MA, I taught for say, I think 5 months. But because of circumstances, because my principal of the college was a little bit old-fashioned, and he said, okay, you take over as in charge for cultural and annual days. I took over. Then the students said, we would like to do a play, and I was ready to direct. I selected the cast, but the principal objected that there shouldn't be girls in the play. I asked why. He said no. Then you should order some wigs and let the boys put wigs, and that was I am talking about in 70s. So I said, nothing doing, sorry, I am quitting the job if my job doesn't give me this type of satisfaction. So when I came to this service, I am probably one of the very few who enjoyed what they had studied. I had studied political science with a specialization in diplomacy and international law, and I'm happy to admit that I enjoyed it throughout my life. So maybe I could have reached the position of foreign secretary or this and that, but I don't have any regrets from life, because I know that there were so many duffers who were ahead of me, and there were so many much more intelligent than me people who are my subordinates. There are so many people who didn't get chance to appear for different competitions because of the monetary problems. That doesn't mean that they are more intelligent than me. So I don't have any regrets, but I would like to take ahead, or I would like to say that I still have a dream, a project, that is to write a novel on transgenders. Because probably that is the community which is very much marginalized. Still, everybody is trying to do something for children, for women, for old people, but very few people think about the transgenders who are suffering for none of their faults. So I wanted to be in touch with them and do something for them, write a novel on them as well. But now my health doesn't permit, but nevertheless, I don't have regrets. One thing I would like to say, I would like to take it from Mr. Jaggi, that knowledge you must have, but with knowledge, you must have the proper way of application of knowledge. Because if you don't apply your knowledge properly, as you have said, that you apply your knowledge against the people with evil motives and greed, then you succeed. So if you apply it properly, if you apply it morally, then it gives you satisfaction. And just one thing I would like to end with. When I was in Muscat, there was a cyclone named Gonu came, and which had a devastating effect on the whole of the country, and especially most of the Indians were living there as laborers. And we opened up a relief camp in a school, and I told the biggest family there, one Hindi family, they opened like Bhamasha, they opened their stores for me. They said, whatever you want, Mr. Tripathi, you can take for the Indians. So we opened a camp in the school, and one day, one person, and we asked everybody who could contribute towards the benefit of these affected by the cyclone. One day, one person in almost torn clothes and dirty clothes came to me. And he said, sir, very shyly, he said, may I give you something? May I contribute something? I said, yes, of course. He gave me 10 riyals. And mind you, those days, the salaries of the labor class was 30 riyals. He gave me 10 riyals, and he said, sir, I'm sorry, I cannot give you more than that because this is the only money I have right now. See the passion, see the attitude, see the compassion he had, see the the kindness that he had in his eyes. That whatever he had, he gave everything. I asked him, how are you going to eat? He said, no, I do something with my friends. I will eat with my friends. But that is the satisfaction. That is what uh, the that is what the life teaches you. It is not.
Sir, allow me to interrupt you here. Were
Please.
you there at in Oman at the time of the Gwadar port when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had taken over that? Were you there?
No, I was not there. I was there from 2005 to 2008.
You would have had occasion to visit the Indian school?
Yes, I was a patron of Indian school. The
When
embassy
it was
was
there
patron
belongs
and
to
I
the-
was looking after
Sir,
the school.
You would be surprised, sir. You'd be surprised when I go for inspections. I mean, and if I met any parent, Indian parent, they would never charge you. You have to insist. No, you come for the school, you come for the school. They would never charge you. It was such a problem. I mean, such a problem. That's the kind of respect that you had.
Yeah. And the schools were so famous that even
Yes,
the
yes, sir.
Pakistanis, the Egyptians, their
Yes, yes,
embassy officials used to request us to allow their children to come there study. So I was saying that this is knowledge you should have, but the knowledge should not be used, should not be misused. Knowledge you should have, but with knowledge, you should not
misusers.
You should not leave the humility. You should not leave the kindness. You should be humble. Because I remember, I have read somewhere that Socrates was not famous by that time. So what happened? All the so-called pundits or knowledgeable peoples, they were fighting with each other as to who was the most knowledgeable, who was the biggest pandit among them. And then when they could not decide, they went to the Diana's temple and they requested for oracle, and oracle said that there is a person named Socrates. He is the most profound person. He is the most knowledgeable person. But nobody knew Socrates. So after a great research in the narrow lanes of Athens, they went to an old dingy sort of locality where they found in one dirty room Socrates sitting, and they asked, "How come you said that? How come you said that? How come you are the biggest? You are the most learned person amongst us, whereas we don't know you." He said, "Who told I am most learned?" They said, "Well, it was the oracle that informed us that you are the most learned person." So Socrates says, maybe because I am a fool. I know I am a fool. I am a fool and I know that. But probably you guys don't know even that. You too are fools, but you don't know even that. So that maybe probably the God thought that I am one step ahead than you. But I am a fool nevertheless. So that sort of, because they say that knowledge is such a deep sea that the deeper you go,
Yes.
the more you think that you are more ignorant.
Yes. That's a fact.
The more you know about your ignorance.
Yes.
So you should be humble. You should, and one should not have any regrets from life.
Yes.
Life could have given worse to me. And there are many people who are in worse conditions. Why should I crib about that? Whatever I am thankful to God.
Thank you. Wonderful, sir, sharing with you. So thank you.
So thank you, Ambassador Tripathi. And I think there are one or two things that you highlighted. One is your passion for the Air Force. So I would say, or I would rather think that The Air Force's loss was probably the Foreign Services gain.
Yes.
Second thing you talked about was teaching political science and political philosophy. One of the very striking things I took, and I think probably it is relevant to all of us, is the basic understanding that it's not merit always that takes you at the top. There are more meritorious people below and above you, and there are duffers both below and above you. And we look forward, of course, to your novel and work on transgender. I think it's a very interesting segment because, as you rightly pointed out, that this area has not been looked at from a service standpoint, and they continue to suffer huge discrimination, and you can say not only discrimination but stereotyping in our society. And of course, this is not something which is, but this is something, I mean, our original attitudes have been very different, which have just sort of changed over the last several centuries. So, thanks to our panelists on these two very vital questions. And I am now sort of throwing open the third question rather, which is, how would you like yourself to be remembered? Because remember, as you rightly said, we are not at the end of our innings. We are in the second half of our innings, and there is some batting still to be done. And how would you like yourself to be remembered in terms of the younger generation? How should they see you, or how you think that they should remember you? And I'll probably throw this question open to Jaggi Saab, and then we can move on to others.
This reminds me of what Mr. Kushwant Singh said. He'd like to be remembered as somebody who was a womanizer, who lived a scarlet life and everything, but that was a put on. He was a very religious-minded person. He pretended to be, like a womanizer and everything, but he was not that. In fact, he was so conscientious and so rigid in his regimen that he was almost a saint. He's none of those womenizers. Women used him to rise the standard. What I would like to be remembered, if anybody does ever remember anybody, is a useless show-off who like to brag, nothing but a cake bubble of air, and nothing worth writing about. That's what I think. That's the truth. Because now in my last innings, third or fourth or fifth last innings, I've seen everything that I thought I'd achieved or I'd accomplished. I find that it was destiny, providence, less my merit or no merit, or just circumstances, providence or destiny. It was willed that way that I did. I don't think I teach anything on that, but yes. One thing that could go is, I was never ever turned or closed the door to anybody, even at the time of my highest arrogance, even when I thought I was successful. And when you're successful, you do tend to become haughty, arrogant, presumptuous, even that time. Possibly the only time I never ever said no to anybody if I could be of any sense. That's the only thing in my life I've achieved. I was brought up that way by my parents, to learn to give and not to take. That is, I would say, I don't recall, and if I survived my surgery, it must be because of duas. Somebody I must have, in my own role, contributed, or destiny made me do it. That's the only thing I go satisfied. I have achieved two more things. Dyslexia was really unknown in this country. And a child, I got the law changed by filing a PIL. A person from 1st to 8th cannot be failed. And 9th, up to 9th cannot be failed. And 10th, he would have a writer of the same class in half an hour extra. 11th, he cannot be failed. And 12th, he'd have a writer of the same class in half an hour extra. That is one. And secondly, I filed a PIL and I got the law changed. Now, I mean, opium tablets for terminally ill cancer patients are easily available in Tata Memorial, Rajiv Gandhi, all the cancer hospitals. Mr. N.K. Singh was the finance secretary, and I was complimented by the judges for bringing such a good cause. These few things that when you have tried to do help, I would give wheelchairs at the Cheshire homes, those kind of things. That's the only thing that's given me happiness. When I was into bonsai in a big way, they gave me intrinsic internal pleasure. But that was pleasure, that was my happiness. The satisfaction that you, if you could, whatever limited means that you had, you never turned anybody away. That is one thing that I would like to remember. And I owe my extended life to the duas and the blessings because of that. There was no chance of probably the only man in the world with the kind of surgery. His own heart pulled out and transplanted back because of some idiotic doctor did something like. I'd just like to remember that I never tried to close my door or let anybody turn away.
So thank you, Mr. Jaggi. I think it was really funny that the way you started, which is especially about talking about describing yourself as a useless show off, but obviously we know that your work both in dyslexia and other PILs, especially around the terminally ill patients, so that has been phenomenal, and it has helped a lot of people.
Yes, given me intrinsic satisfaction.
Yes, and that's probably what a lot of us will remember you for. So we'll move to Dr. Nandini, and maybe she would like to share how she would like to be sort of remembered, not only based on what she has done, but what she plans to do in the rest of her innings.
Actually, this is a very tricky question because I am a skeptic. Do you think that people are remembered? I mean, people like us. I mean, I'm not nothing and nobody, I feel. Public memory is very short. So this is one thing. So, I mean, this is really a hypothetical question. Yes, I have written some books, and those are taught. Those are books and articles. Those will be taught. So maybe people will remember. Okay, there is a person called Dr. Nandini Bhattacharya Panda. She had written this beautiful book. Lot of, I mean, well, yes, but what I think, a lot of hard work. What I want to do, yes, I already communicated that I really work with the communities, but I'm very depressed right now because you know that movement now, human movement is so restricted. How much I can make it, I'm not very sure, and that's why I'm very depressed. I was getting some project, and all on a sudden in West Bengal, the infection has gone up to the level of 5,500. So it gave me depression. So if I can, then some people in the hills, I mean, apparently, quote unquote, they're lesser people, they're underprivileged. But they tell me that, well, you are in your last birth, you are born in the hill. So you are so much like us. So they respect me, many of them don't know my qualification, and I never bother to tell them. So, well, in a way, what I am trying to do, their cultural documentation, because with growing or urbanization, They are losing their cultural properties, they are losing their heritage, they are losing their tradition. Documentation is not the best way to preserve it, but change is the essence of life. So their life is also changing. So at least there are some beautiful things in terms of song, dance, craft, handicraft, culinary skill. So if I can document that, I don't know whether I can be remembered for that, but it will be give me immense satisfaction. That is in the public domain. So I don't think I have done much to be remembered like Mr. Janki or like Ambassador Tripathi. I'm a very humble person and I always go by my own whims, some say anyway. But within the family, well, yes, you have your posterity, daughter, grandchildren. So if they remember someone as a very wise, humble, and knowledgeable person, we learned a lot from her or him or her. That is the best success in one's life. Public memory is short. I mean, whoever it is. But if you leave an impression in your family and your extended family and with your friends, that this person was nice, we benefited from them, that person did never try to do any harm, and that person always try to help us. That is the best memory one can live in the memory of the family, friends, and neighbors. And if there is a public memory, nothing like it, but I don't expect it to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. We'd like to hear something similar from from Ambassador Tripathi on how he would like or how he sees he would like to be remembered for.
Well, I don't know really whether people will remember me after my death or not, and if they do, how much, how many. But well, I would like the general public to remember, if at all it remembers me, as an ordinary person, very ordinary person who tried to lead a life of helping others and not harming anyone. So that would be because I tell you, one funny incident comes to my mind. Even now, my wife teases me about that. When I was a small child, 3 years or 4 years maybe, that is what my mother used to tell. Even on a street, if I would see a beggar, I would take him or home. Oh, you don't have anything. Come on, my mother will give you something. And my mother was at times fed up of it. And even my wife, that attitude, that thing, that habit is still there. And sometimes my wife and my family members tease me on that. But that apart, as I said, by public, I would like to be remembered, if at all I am remembered, as a normal person living an ordinary life without harming anyone. And as regards family members, each has got their own glasses, colored glasses to look at me, depending on the role I play, the role of husband, the role of father, the role of uncle, the role of father-in-law, the role of grandfather. So they will remember me according to their own perception and according to what they see me as. So that is what I think. Otherwise, like Dr. Nandini Pandya said, that public memory is very short and nobody remembers anybody after sometimes. Memories fade, even memories of bigger people like Nehru, Gandhi, and Indira Gandhi, they fade and then sort of distortions occur. So I don't know what is there in future for me. But as I said, if I'm at all remembered, I should be remembered as a very ordinary person who tried to live a peaceful and helpful life without harming anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Tripathi. And so I'll move to probably this would be the last question for the day, because while I would have loved this conversation to go on, the fact is that we'll be under some kind of time constraint at some point in time. So this brings me to the last question of the day, possibly, for this session rather, where I would maybe start with Ambassador Tripathi, and he can tell us about one incident in his life which he thinks is a defining experience, which in some ways shaped his attitudes or shaped his outlook towards life in general. So I'll repeat the question so that it's just clear to our esteemed panelists, that one defining incident in your life which you think shaped your life or shaped your attitudes towards life. And I think our viewers would be very interested in.
Well, I would say that when I was a student, my father, my late father, we have a wonderful way of communicating with each other. He wants, when he will come from office, he was a middle class officer. When he would come from office, he would just say, Beta Jiten, you know, such and such uncle, his son has got into IS. That's all. And that means message well sent and well received by me. He knew what he wanted from me. I knew what he wants from me. So that was one, but that was a continuous experience. The second one, as I said, that was the most defining when I was in Muscat and during this cycle. This humble, poor person in shattered clothes came to me and gave 10 riyals, which is equal to about 1,000 rupees. 10 riyals, which was all that he had as a donation to help his compatriots. And that brought tears in my eyes, gentlemen and lady, because I have never seen such a passion, such a compassion, such a humbleness in that. And that day I decided that in this life, there is nothing which can beat this. I mean, people donate, people having millions and billions, they don't donate. And when they donate, they try to brag about it. But this person, having whatever he had, this poor person, he gave it voluntarily without any pressure or coercion. And he told me that he is not worried about what is going to happen in future for him. So that was one thing which taught me that one should never think life as just a giver, but you should also be prepared to give yourself something back to the society.
Thank you. And I think I'll just supplement this, a very interesting experience that I sort of heard about. And that was the case of a spiritual master. And once a person or lady, again, of very, very small means, a very poor lady, she walked up to him in 1977 and she offered 5 rupees for an ashram which was getting built. And this spiritual guru was aware that this lady is just not in a position to give this money. So he took the money and he said, thank you for this donation. Can I now assume that this money belongs to me? So that lady said, yes.
I'm already on a panel discussion on Jena.
Money belongs to you. So then he said, okay, fine. Does this mean that I can now do whatever I want to do with this money? So that lady said, yes, you can do whatever you want to do with this money. So he took this 5 rupees and gave it back to the lady. He said, I'm giving this to you as a gift. And that I thought was a very human and a nice way to make sure that a person doesn't suffer out of her own love and devotion for whatever she was doing. So thanks for this very insightful observation. Is Jaggi Saab there, or is Sister? Is Jaggi
Yes,
Saab?
yes,
Huh.
yes, yes.
So
Very
I'll,
much.
I'll repeat the question again, so that because maybe you missed the question, I'll repeat the
Yes,
question.
sir. Sorry. Just having a
No problem.
little trouble with the setting. Is the setting all right?
Yeah, no issues. So can you hear us, Jaggi Saab, now?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, what is that one defining incident in your life which shaped your thoughts and attitudes in a very significant way?
Can I have the question again, please?
Yes.
What?
Can you share with us, or would you like to share with us, one defining incident in your life
Yes.
which was so important to you that it shaped your attitudes towards life? One defining incident, and which hopefully from which we can learn, all of us can learn.
Very difficult. If I'm allowed, maybe there are two.
Yes, please go ahead.
Like the first, when I was in my young, almost 2-3 years, I remember, or maybe the earliest that one could, probably definitely less than 4 years, when people of our religion, our community had come from Pakistan, and a lot of them were suffering. The claims had not been settled and everything. And people would come to my father. Because he was the only lawyer in those days from 6-7 districts. And he had been able to retrieve many of his worldly possessions. And he had settled by 48 itself, he had settled. When people would come in what is called a dhoti was called tehmat. In Pakistan, it's called tehmat. In that area, they'd come there, everything. And the way all of them, before leaving, elderly or anything, the way they would touch my father's feet, the way they would respond to my father, they'd expect him to be not that available, not that being listening. That left an absolute an impression of my mind that it's always good to be a good human being, always good to be kind. He didn't have to do it. And then, in that, on the same thing, once an officer of the court, Delhi High Court, who later became a judge himself, he told me when he was in the registrar, he was in some sort of a trouble, and he went to my father. And my father said, "Don't worry, I will, don't worry, I'll take the blame that you had served the notices on me." And what he would tell me, and that gentleman on a public platform said that my father had five staff of 5 that time, but he, with his own hands, served him shikanjvi. When he had gone to him begging my father to save his job. Those incidents and like my father would. So that defined my attitude: give and not take. Give and not take. Sounds ridiculous. My own elder daughter doesn't believe that. Nobody believes that. My father, out of 10 cases, out of 3 cases, spent money out of his pocket. I'm doing the same stupid thing now after my retirement. I did that even while practicing, doing this. People, today it's difficult. They can never believe that. Why am I doing it free? And what happens? They engage lawyers. They pay them tons of money. They can't sort it. They come back to me. And the second was, when I got up, 4 times my heart had collapsed out of the ventilator, and then I was given electric shocks. When I got up from the bed, that 1 minute, and when I got out of the bed, that moment when I said, "Kisi ki dua ne, kini ki dua ne bachaya," that those are 2 defining moments that turned my attitude towards life. It's very difficult. I can't convince my own family, look, this is the way I'd like to go. This is no. It's not the way. It's not practical. It's not pragmatic. Those two things. One, I was less than 4 years seeing my father give and not take. And this, dua, kisi ki dua se bachta hai. That's all I can. I don't know. I mean, it must sound like so hollow, and it must sound in today's world. It must sound so hollow and unbelievable. It must be incredibly stupid. You would say, "What is that old man trying to?" I mean, like trying to make a fool of us by saying these things. But unfortunately, that is. We have the young gentleman here. He doesn't believe it. This young fine lady, she doesn't believe it. But that's how it is. It sounds hollow. When I explained to my daughter, elder daughter, the lawyer, she doesn't buy it. She doesn't know.
So
Here we are, stick out like sore thumbs, odd man out.
yes, in many cases that would be the case, but I think a lot of people are now realizing that give and not take is a very important element of leaders in society. In fact, leaders are those who give rather than take. I mean, and that's the definition.
And for this, in Hindustan Times, and 10 newspapers, Mr. Kushwant Singh has written. I don't have that paper. I'll send it to Bhaiya. He's written that I am an inscrutable philanthropist. He wrote this about almost 16, 17 years ago. Hindustan Times and all the top papers, right for 10 journals, magazines. Inscrutable philanthropist. And he says, I call him an enigma. He finds me more enigmatic. I'm not, please, this is to be expunged, Mr. Rajiv. भैया इसको expunge करना है. मैं सिर्फ share कर रहा हूँ इसलिए थोड़ी के लिए. Mr. Kushwant Singh writing, inscrutable philanthropist. And this was quoted somewhere like this. Somebody put on the Facebook and WhatsApp. 10 आदमी are giving one banana to a COVID patient. I mean, like किसी को दे रहे हैं, and 10 people getting a photograph done there. For photographs, मैं भी बहुत खिंचवाता हूँ. That's I mean, like I'm narcissist. My wife says I'm a narcissist. Photo खिंचवाते रहते हो like this. But the point is, this is an inscrutable philanthropist.
So I now shift to Dr. Nandini, and I'll repeat the question for our benefit because. So the question is, what is that one defining experience or moment in your life which shaped your attitudes and beliefs?
Life is a journey. Is there any one thing? But I remember a few things in different stages of life. Actually, when I was small, say 6, 7, 8 years old, we used to live in a big house, my grandfather's house, and there were a family staying with us. They lived close, but their children, they were poor and they used to eat in our house and usually treat them as family members. We were Bhattacharyas, Orthodox Brahmins. So, but I could not really differentiate. And I am always not a rebel, but my thought pattern had a different kind of vibe anyway. So one day what happened, there was a pond close by and we were catching fish in a summer vacation. I was not to do, never to do with them. I mean, it is their job anyway. Later on I realized. Then I knew that I would be scolded. Then it took, the fishes were caught and they fried it and we had it in their house. They were Berber by caste. So when my grandmother somehow got the news. When I got back home, in a winter evening, what she had done, I mean, she was otherwise a very kind person, but she made me take bath. And then she told my father was angry because I was in a nearby pond where I could be drowned, perhaps because he was not an Orthodox person. But I was shocked. That day I realized, okay, it is, I mean, not money, but also, I mean, people are unequal on a different platform. So I mean, I don't know how it changed my life. My second is, I mean, there are a few. It is only few years ago. I will echo Mr. Jaggi that I was admitted in a hospital while I had dengue. I didn't have a good health. It was in 2017. That day, I told my daughter that she was supposed to go to London. I said, you go, otherwise I will not be hospitalized. But I knew that she was crying. I knew that I was not well. So after 2 days, later I realized, but I felt that my body weight has become very light. Then I realized that my platelet count became less than 18,000. But I don't know. I just told I'm a devotee of Goddess Kali. I just told Ma that, well, if you, I mean, it is up to you. I may whether you allow me to live or you allow me to die. Just I told her. I mean, is it a prayer? I don't know. I was not in my mind, because you can understand less than 8,000 platelet. Then there was a talk about I have to be given platelet and all these things. All on a sudden, the doctor ran after 2 hours to me and said, Auntie, your platelet has risen and it is now 40,000. You have no problem. Now you will survive. And that time there were a lot of deaths from dengue in Kolkata. So like Mr. Jaggi, I also feel a divine hand behind my survival. So that was a defining moment. I am always, I mean, not a God-fearing, but a spiritual person. Not always, but for some time. But now I am more. So these are two defined moments I can recall.
So thank you, Dr. Nandini. With this, I would just like
I just need one thing, Arun. I've just been able to find out that newspaper. This was Kushwant Singh in the Hindustan Times. This can you read? Can you see this?
Yeah, it's suitable. Yes.
Just 1 minute. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, and this also was. Then this also. Please allow me. You know, like they say, empty vessels make more sound. Can you, like they say, empty vessels make more sound. Can I just read this one? Am I allowed, Mr. Moderator, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
This is good. Bhaiya, this has to be expunged later. There is a time to earn money. After you made enough, comes a time to share some of it with people who have not been so fortunate. The few I know who gave this idea practical shape appear happier giving away than when they were taking in. One of them is Naveen Jaggi, who, having made his pile as a lawyer, I never made a pile, that's incorrect, as a lawyer, devotes his spare time of his time running and Alkaji Bari, founded in 1923, of which he is the currently international president. And then at the end, last he writes here, this portion he writes here. I am unable to fathom Jaggi's affection for me. He's never asked me for any favor. He knows I can do nothing for him in return. I'm baffled. He describes me as an enigma. I find him more enigmatic. I'm unable to fathom Jaggi's affection for me. He's never asked me for any favor. He knows I can do nothing for him in return. I'm baffled. He describes me as an enigma. I find him more enigmatic. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, he has been very, very kind to me. I know several people who he was able to get scholarship for them at the Cambridge University, and how he taught them. He told them, read the Bible. Bible is a complete book, and how he's helped so many people. I mean, he's been very kind. I think at least 15 to 16 students were able to get scholarships to Cambridge because of him, his recommendation. So he's been very kind. But what I like, this thought suddenly came to me, inscrutable philanthropist, that he'd written without, I mean, on his own. But this, please, Mr. Rajiv, this has to be expunged from the final rating. Just sharing it, that came from my heart. Thank you very much.
So thanks, Jaggi Saab. I would just like to thank all of you for your contributions. And we'll move to the next part of our journey today, which is the Zena anthem.
सदस्य जीनत है जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा। हम सदस्य जीनत है जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा। कष्ट गरीबी दुख हरने का हम संकल्प उठाएं, धरती को कुटुंब करने के लिए प्रयास बढ़ाएं। कष्ट गरीबी दुख हरने का हम संकल्प उठाएं, धरती को कुटुंब करने के लिए प्रयास बढ़ाएं। हम सदस्य जीना के हैं, जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा। सबको रोजी रोटी हो और सबको हो खुशहाली, हो निर्बाध विचार भावना सदा सीखने वाली। सबको रोजी रोटी हो और सबको हो खुशहाली, हो निर्बाध विचार भावना सदा सीखने वाली। हम सदस्य जीना के हैं, जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा। दया क्षमा नैतिकता हो और हो सम्मान सभी का, सबको यूं अपना माने के दिल ना दुखे किसी का। दया क्षमा नैतिकता हो और हो सम्मान सभी का, सबको यूं अपना माने के दिल ना दुखे किसी का। हम सदस्य जीना के हैं, जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा। सदस्य जीना के हैं, जीना परिवार हमारा, चारों ओर खुशी फैलाने का है अपना नारा।
So with this, I now invite Brother Sanjay Prasad, Brother Sanjay Prasad, to just wish us close the session for us.
Thank you, Manish. I would like to thank the Zena members and the family members of Zena who have graced the occasion today to...
Our teenager, sir.
Sir, I'm a very, very teenager in front of you.
Happy New Year. That photograph is that of a Bollywood film star.
Yeah, that is my son.
Oh, okay.
So
very handsome person.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to thank each and every member who has graced the occasion today, and I welcome them all together for devoting the time and attending this session today. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you once again.
So आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, and with this I think we close the session well ahead of time.
Thank you very much.